Hello, Night Nation. I'm Trylko from the Sons of UCF, joined by Eric Lopez of the Black and Gold Banneret. Welcome into Around the Kingdom. Elo, hello.
Hello, Trace. Coming up on the fastest UCF show around. The Knights find a way to lose in the desert. How? We try to explain. And what does it mean for the football program moving forward? But hey, did Trace just come back from a good UCF sports team basketball? We'll discuss if Trace is on the bandwagon on the fastest UCF show around the kingdom.
Before we get going with that, Elo, let us welcome in the third member of our team. He is Adam Eaton from the Sons of UCF. Keeps an eye on the clock, keeps us on our toes. Adam, hello.
Gentlemen, good evening as always. Trace, I will keep you updated. I'm actually listening to another show. Hawk Tua is revealing her boyfriend in the latest episode of Talk Tua. I will get back to you with that final reveal. I know you're very interested.
I am now. Thank you, Adam. Well, isn't that special, Elo? That being special teams for UCF. A contributing factor, the Knights' 35-31 loss in Tempe, Arizona. Knights dropped to 4-6, 2-5 in the Big 12. A meltdown in the desert.
Is the desert now count as one of the places if UCF goes to lose? Like, remember 2002? We talked about it last week, how they led at the half and then it all fell apart in the second half. This game, things fell apart during the games in bits and pieces and parts of it. I mean, you mentioned the special teams giving up the first score of the game when they were up 7-0 on a punt block for a touchdown. You have a mishap at where it's supposed to be a fair catch on a kickoff return, and instead it was a return to the 1 yard line, which set up a terrible pick six. I mean, it's the horror house of horrors, Trace. You were there to witness it all in person.
It wasn't any better or any less painful in person, Elo. If any one of these things doesn't happen, maybe UCF survives. But when you total them all up, and we've forgotten some things that were bad along the way, but let's talk about that botched kickoff return. I mean, you want to pin it on coaching, but the player didn't start playing on Saturday, right? Is this not a fundamental thing? How about that memory lapse? And that proved to be one of many costly errors for the Knights.
But then you still have a chance to get to the locker room up at halftime, a first half that you controlled. You're at the 1 yard line. Arizona State challenges. They're trying, they use their last timeout, and you throw the football, Trace, for a pick six. Trace, in my 26 years of following UCF football, maybe the worst play call I've ever seen.
There's a topic for Around the Kingdom.
And the funny part is it wasn't done by Gus. What? That's so fitting on the I don't think
maybe
that was. I don't think that was.
I don't know. But
you tell me that was a good call. Do you agree with that? You asked Gus.
You mean you don't want a basic freshman on the road in a hostile atmosphere at the half-yard line to throw the ball?
Gus's facial reaction when you asked him about that play call, he was ready to. I think he was going to strangle you or somebody after what you asked him. Yeah, so it might have been you. Who knows? That would be the first time. I tell you. All right. One of the key plays that people have scrutinized in the postmortem and maybe at live at the time was Gus Malzahn settling for a field goal up 31-28 after running a wild night the first time and settling for it on 4th and 2. Trace, what did you think of that play, deciding to go for the field goal at the time?
What were you trying to accomplish? If you're successful in that, you're up 6. So I don't understand what was trying to be accomplished. Be aggressive. We talked about this. Good teams find ways to win, and bad teams figure out ways to lose. And when you're 4-6, you've made a lot of mistakes. And I question that play call.
So here's my devil's advocate argument on this. You kick the field goal. It was a makeable field goal. You go up 6. Arizona State, even if they come back, they have to score a touchdown to beat you. Even if they do that, all you got to do when you get the ball back is win the game with a field goal instead of trying to go in for a touchdown. I think that was the argument. Plus, what makes you so confident that if they go for it, they would have made it on 4th down, Trace? Did you not see the previous play call?
Well, what made you feel confident that they would make a long field goal?
Oh, I didn't at all.
I
didn't at all. 26 years following this program, I knew that kick was going to be missed. Did you not? Come on, you follow this program longer than I have, right? No matter what they would have done there, it was not going to work. Okay, can we just agree on that?
That part we can agree on, Elo. All right, you talked about for fact that Tim Harris Jr., offensive coordinator, called that play of Dylan Riss throwing out of the end zone, but I would say that there are seemed to be times when Gus Malzahn had grabbed back the playbook and was calling things. For example, the Wildcat plays. That felt like Gus Malzahn's fingerprints were on those plays.
I don't disagree with that. I think the turning point was the call throwing the football at the 1 yard line. And to your credit, you asked Gus about it. Gus's answer would suggest it was not his idea. He kind of agreed with you. He was like, I have no idea why we did that. I think Gus went to Tim Harris in the at halftime. It's like, why did you do that? And I'm sure that at minimum, Gus probably suggested some plays in the second half with a guy that doesn't have experience doing play calling, Trey. So I think that's reasonable there of what might have occurred. So I think it was second half. I don't agree with.
Well, by the way, if Gus is going to override on a play call, how about override on throwing out of the end zone? Now, it worked a week earlier against Arizona, and that's why you feel like maybe Coach Harris called that again.
I concur with you on that. I do fully agree. I think Gus should have overrided that. Somebody should have. It did not happen at one bit there. All right. Of course, the Knights' loss once again spoiled another fantastic performance by RJ Harvey, who keeps moving up the record books and is having another magnificent year. But one might ask, could this be perhaps the last time we see RJ Harvey in a Knight uniform, Trace?
Well, we don't know what his NIL contract looks like, but what is there to play for him, right? You just risk injury. He's already proven what he can do and whatever his draft stock will be in the NFL. I don't think he has anything left to prove. Again, I don't know what the contract reads. He's a competitive guy. He wants to go out a winner. He wants to help the Knights. But what's there to prove at this point for RJ Harvey?
Well, he came back this year. He could have easily gone to the NFL last year.
Well, he expected a lot better than 4-6 through 10.
For sure. But you're going to bail 2 games left in the season? I don't know. I think he plays. Now, if somehow this team makes the bowl game, then I agree with you. I think he skips the bowl game. He ain't going to skip the last home game on senior day. What he's going to walk in street clothes and say, thanks, guys? No,
he'll be a little gimpy. That's all. I just don't know what there's in it for him in this ELO. So, all right. We talked a little bit about the negatives. What about some positives, ELO? What did you see in this game that encouraged you about the Knights?
Dylan Resk, I thought he handled himself very well in a road environment, made some good throws. I don't blame him completely for that pick 6. That call should have never have happened. I like how he's running the offense. I thought the offense moved the ball well with him. He's a solid quarterback. I feel good about that. I feel good about Jacoby Jones, who I think has played well the last few weeks. I thought Quadric Bullard played his best game as a Knight. How nice was it to see him blitz and get a sack there and being aggressive there? I thought Addison Williams, for the most part, did some nice job play calling there. So I thought there were some nice things there I saw. And Dotson continues to play great like he has since moving back to his natural position.
Boy, the defense deserved better, right? They didn't give up 35 points. The special teams gave up some of those. I thought the defense played well. If I told you going into the game, 260 yards would be what the defense would surrender. And again, they get a break without Arizona State's running back Cam Scatterbo not playing. But I would have felt pretty good about the Knights' chances. UCF finds a different way to lose, this time on special teams, certainly not on the back of the defense.
And as a result of that, they dropped to 4-6. And, I've noticed I haven't seen Trace post any bowl projections recently.
I don't think there are any.
It's a very odd feeling. They got 2 games left. They have a bye this week. They go to West Virginia, and then they host Utah on Black Friday. Trace, is this team going to make a bowl?
I don't think there's reason to see that they will. I mean, they certainly will be in both of these games, and they could win. But when you have a total of 4 wins, 2 over, Sam Houston State, New Hampshire, rallied behind to beat TCU, defeated a very bad Arizona team, I find it difficult to believe they're going to go on the road, beat West Virginia. But if they can get that win on the road at West Virginia, I do kind of like their hopes in the season finale against an injury-riddled Utah team.
It's been the story, though, the last few years. Can they win a road game to set yourself up there, right? At West Virginia, you don't know what to expect from West Virginia. Neil Brown's in the hot seat over there. They're this disgruntled. What time is kick? We don't even know. If they can find a way to win in Morgantown, I agree with you. I like their chances to beat a Utah team that I don't think has much to play for. Come Black Friday, they're going to start Zach Wilson's brother. But the problem is, this is the West Virginia.
That's his name.
That's his name. That's what he's earned. But I don't know what I've seen that would give me confidence they could slow down West Virginia. They didn't slow them down last year when it was here in Orlando, so why would they slow them down in Morgantown? And we don't know what the weather forecast will be, which is another story.
Yeah, no game time yet, no weather forecast, a lot of unknowns on that one. All right, time to bring back in Adam and our silly game, which I'm actually kind of dreading after our dismal performance on trivia last week.
Well, just you wait, but you have to wait a few seconds longer, though, because I have to tell you all about the Cure Bowl, the official sponsor here of Around the Kingdom at Sons of UCF. You want to get out there December 20th. It's a fantastic bowl event, Campbell Gold Stadium, downtown Orlando. The matchup is Orlando versus Cancer, and you can join the winning team. Go to curebowl.com. You're guaranteed to see a great bowl game. You're going to have some fun festivities. And again, it's in beautiful downtown Orlando, December 20th, curebowl.com to get your tickets and join in on the action. All right, I got a couple easy ones for you, Elo. I'll start with you. Percentages, here we go. So here's how I'm doing this math, by the way. By my count right now, if you include Gus Malzahn, there are currently 10 coaches, position coaches or head coaches that are on UCF's coaching staff. I'm not counting the linebacker coach, which has already been let go. So 10 coaches currently on the staff as of right now. If I set the number at 8.5 are back next year, do you take the over or under 8.5 coaches on the football coaching staff being back next year?
Under, which I believe means under less than 8.5. Okay. And so I think less than 8.5 will be back, especially if this team does not make a bowl game. I do expect some changes in other positions. I expect maybe other coordinators to bolt. Who knows? You never know. The head man himself, he's got to think about, does he want to come back or not? And can he rebuild this? So I'm going to go under.
Yeah, got to go with the under. Maybe the special teams coach will be one of those that will be shown the door. I think that if, in fact, Gus Malzahn is back, that it would behoove Terry Mohajir to demand some more changes in the coaching staff. It has not worked, and change is needed.
All right, Trace, I'll start this one with you. Give me the percentage on this one, okay? The percentage chance that somebody other than Darius Johnson is the leading scorer for this UCF basketball team. Somebody other than Darius Johnson will be the leading scorer. What's the percent chance of that?
65% chance that someone other than Darius. And I think we saw it in the Tuesday night win that there are other people that can score for the Knights. Though I like Darius, I could see someone else stepping up, even maybe two people.
I will agree with Trace. I will go, though, a little lower. I will go 59.5%. I think Jordan Ivy Curry or Keyshawn Hall are your legitimate threats to the scoring lead with Darius Johnson. Those are probably going to be your three leading scorers. And that's not even counting potential Jalen Sellers comeback because we don't know what his role is. We don't know when he'll come back. But I'm going to go a little lower at about 58% because at the end of the day, this is still Darius is running the offense.
Through 3 games, Jordan Ivy Curry 18-7, Darius 17-3, Keyshawn Hall 16-7. So that would play out. All right. This week's trivia question. Elo, I'll start with you. In the Gus Malzahn era, how many times has UCF outgained the opponent in yards but lost? How many times has UCF outgained their opponent but lost? I'll give you a hint. It just happened this past Saturday. How many times
I'm aware
in the Gus Malzahn era has that happened?
It's a good question.
How do you have time to look this up? You're hosting UCF Today every day. How don't you do this?
Suns Today.
That too. All that too. Yes.
All this stuff. I lost track. I will say this entire since he's been here, I'll say 8 times.
All right. Trace Trylko, your guess. How many times has in the Gus Malzahn era has UCF lost a game where they outgained the opponent?
Well, how many losses does Gus have now? 21, 22? I'm going to go with you. I'm going to go 9. I'm going to go one more than Elo for the win.
Well, that seems like a disappointment because the correct answer is 7.
Lopez
is closest. There was actually one season, 2021, that did not happen. Only happened once in 2022, and that was Navy. 3 times each the last 2 seasons for Gus Malzahn.
How about that? All right. Thank you, Adam. All right, Elo. Silence is deafening. It's a bye week. Might you have expected to hear something from Athletics Director Terry Mohajir supportive of head coach Gus Malzahn? Would this not have been a good week for that, or maybe additional changes? What do you read into it, if any?
Look, I understand people like Adam Eaton on the Suns Today show saying you should hear something from Mahaja Woodward about your coach. And I think that's fair. I think that's a fair stance to have. I honestly don't think anybody knows what the stance is. I think everybody's reflecting on this. I think they're still trying to figure this out. What if Terry, if it's not his decision? What if Gus is reflecting on what he wants to do? I think there's still conversations to be had that might be going on this week or might be going on a couple weeks. So, no, I'm not surprised that there has not been any statements this week.
So if the Knights come off the bye week and lose at West Virginia, it ratchets up the tension, though, around
I think you'll know. We'll hear something probably after the Utah game. Listen, in fairness, I haven't heard about the status of this show beyond the fall. I mean, has Adam or you have made a statement if we're coming back in January? I haven't heard. Should I feel worried? Am I concerned? I'm not concerned.
I don't think there's quite the cloud swirling over us, though. We win every week, Elo. We go 1-0 every week.
We have a higher win percentage. We do have a higher win percentage. This is true on that situation. Okay. So with certainly the question for UCF is, where does it go from here, Trace? Where does it go? Not just beyond the rest of this season, but beyond this.
I think it's a great question, Elo, and thus the part where we talked about Mahajer being quiet. You've seen several high-profile decommits. Again, I don't think these were committed people, but in this world we live in, and that's what they call it. But UCF's recruiting rankings have tumbled. There's a shaky confidence at best amongst the donor class for this program. And who's going to buy into the booms and the portal acquisitions? Winning solves problems. And we felt a little bit better after the win over Arizona. But then after seeing the performance at Arizona State, we just talked about it, skeptical that they might make a bowl game. It's going to be an awfully long offseason. Maybe there are changes to coaches, but if things stay the course, I don't know where the enthusiasm level is for UCF football by the fan base, the donor base.
I think frustration is the word to describe the season, right? I think everybody's frustrated. Donors are frustrated that donated. Fans are frustrated. I think the coaches and the players are frustrated. Would you not agree with that, Trace?
Yeah, I agree with that.
But you think about this. You know what I realized looking it up the other day? You know where UCF ranks in total offense this year, right now in the country?
Top 25.
10. Top 10. They're 10th.
Well, based on the running game.
Running game, but they're also top 5 in first downs. Top 3 in rushing yards, to your point.
Then explain
top
why.
30 in scoring. Well, I think some situational things. Red zone, which they think they may have figured that out with Jakari Brown, at least at times. Red zone opportunities, some turnovers. I don't think they're that far away. We're far away. It's just a little, what have you always said, Trace? A game of margins, right? A margin for error. I think some of those things occurred. Think back to the Iowa State game. You could have won that game. The Cincinnati game. I told you. The quarterback switch, right, in that game. I think if KJ starts, they'd still beat Cincinnati. Cincinnati didn't move the ball that game. And then this game they should have won. Switch those 3 games, Trace. We're having a completely different conversation.
Or if this is just 2 games and it's a 6-4 team heading to West Virginia, Utah at home, still within a chance of 7-5, 8-4, I think you feel a little bit differently. But there's also the high-profile losses in there, Elo. Embarrassed at home to Colorado. You don't have the same home field advantage that you have had for years. And that prime game at Florida in Gainesville, the Knights did not look good in that one. So, but it would feel differently if they had a couple things go their way.
Totally understandable, the frustrations, though. The frustrations are valid. I want to make sure I'm clear on that. The criticism is valid. Well,
not as much criticism being levied through 3 games for men's basketball. A big win on Tuesday night, 100-94 over FAU. 3 players with more than 20 points each in this one. Johnny's got him cooking, Elo, with all kinds of new faces.
I'm not going to lie. It's a fun team to watch, isn't it? I mean, 13 of 28. They finally hit some threes. They didn't hit threes in the first 2 games. They hit threes in this game. They are still aggressive going to the free throw line, 23 of 25 in the victory against FAU. But to me, I've said this, the key guy is Keyshawn Hall. 26 points in the victory against FAU. He was one of 14 players in college basketball last year at George Mason, averaged 18 points, over 7.5 boards, and 1.5 assists. He's a key guy. He's at stretch 4 who can play the 5. I'm impressed with this team. I'm amazed what Johnny's built here once again on the fly. I know it's just 3 games, Trace, but they beat a Texas A&M team that's going to go to the tournament. They beat a team in Fort Wayne that's the favorites to win the Horizon. They won 23 games last year, and they beat an FAU team that I think will compete with Memphis and UAB in the American. This has been a fantastic start by this UCF team. Who's still shorthanded.
And Coach Dawkins said what impressed him about the 3 wins is it was 3 different styles of team in Texas A&M, Purdue, Fort Wayne, and FAU. So they have been tested. They've got more tests ahead. They've got that tournament in West Virginia coming up. They've got the one in Sunrise. So there's still competitive games on the schedule, but they have built themselves a interesting schedule. And you mentioned still shorthanded. Mikey Williams still in the boot, still listed as day-to-day by head coach Johnny Dawkins, but perhaps more importantly, Jalen Sellers still in street clothes, listed day-to-day. With soreness, as Coach Dawkins said a week ago. It's going to be interesting, though, as the team begins to get used to one another, how you insert one or both of those guys in. It's a good problem to have, but still an interesting thing to consider when one or both are back.
It's the deepest guards that Dawkins has ever had. They've got a new offensive system where they try to kick it out, shoot a lot of threes, attack the basket. So far, so good. I don't think any other UCF team in the recent years wins a game like they did Tuesday night against FAU. I think they have firepower with this team. It's a fun team to watch. Good time to get on the bandwagon, everybody. We'll see. Are you in, Trace? Are you in? It sounds like you're in. You're in.
You and I both have this reputation as being supporters of Johnny Dawkins, and I think that's a good place to be right now.
Wait till the next column. I got a Johnny Dawkins. Oh. All right, back to football. The Big 12 football. What a wacky week. The Holy War had a holy controversy. A penalty on a 4th and 15 that bailed BYU out. They pulled out the victory. Colorado spotted Trace's Texas Tech Red Raiders 13 points and then said, no big deal. They won by 2 scores. Trace, your thoughts on the Big 12 here with a few weeks to go?
Stumble for Iowa State, right, at Kansas. But it's hard to go perfect. I still think Brett Yormark likes a BYU-Colorado matchup. You know, Dion brings eyeballs and BYU as well. So I think that's still what he favors. But a stumble by Iowa State, it still remains the league. When we're talking about UCF against West Virginia, Utah, anybody can beat anybody in any given week. It makes it competitive, but it does maybe dent their reputation in the national landscape with the college football playoffs.
Let me just say, I think the penalty was correct by the law against the Utah defensive back on 4th and 15. Do you think, though, if BYU was not undefeated, they'd call that? Because some people are wondering that was the call made to protect BYU's undefeated season and their hopes there. Because if you're the Big 12, you want BYU undefeated in the Big 12 title game against Colorado. And then if Colorado beats BYU, you might get 2 bids out of the playoff from the Big 12. Conspiracy? Are you buying it? That's what the Utah folks are. That's what the Utah folks is. The AD is.
I don't buy into the conspiracy. I think these are human beings that make mistakes. I think we see this in every sport with officiating. I laugh at some of not only UCF fans, all fans, that it's a conspiracy week in and week out to screw UCF, or in this case, BYU, Utah, and the controversy. No, I think people just make mistakes.
Does your nephew got an alarm clock for the kickoff against Utah Saturday, big noon Eastern time? I don't know. What is that in Boulder? 10 a.m.?
Noon in – where is it? Big noon where?
Boulder. In Boulder. They're going to play the game noon Eastern on Fox.
Then 10 a.m. Yeah.
Ooh, breakfast in Boulder. Yeah. Ouch. Good luck.
All right. Well, you kind of jumped ahead. So you're standing firm on – you think the Big 12 is protecting, or are you just floating this conspiracy?
I think that call doesn't get made if BYU's 8-4.
What was it, a Big 12 officiating crew?
Yes, which doesn't help the reputation, right? That's part of the people why.
Yeah, but how do you see this? But how does that play out? I know that's an easy thing to say in a 1-minute segment on Around the Kingdom, but what does it mean? What does that mean?
It means money. If you're Brett Yormark.
No, I know that, but when is the collusion occurring between the refs?
I don't know if it's collusion, but I think if you're a human being, if you're an official, you know what's at stake in that game. If you don't call,
you're questioning the integrity of the Zebras.
No, it's a human being. Like, hey, if I know that Trace can finish his report in 30 minutes, I'm not going to subjectively call him and distract him. Because subconsciously, I want him to finish the article. So if you're a ref, you're probably thinking, man, if I don't call this, BYU's done. They're screwed. And then the conference could lose money. I'm not saying that's what happened here. Again, it looked like there was the right call by the letter of the law, But I've seen so many games where they don't call that and they swallow the whistle. I do wonder, and I understand Utah's frustration.
The debate will rage on.
BYU, Kansas. Be careful. Kansas going to BYU. BYU, do you think they stay undefeated? Do you think they can make it to undefeated in the Big 12 title game?
That's hard. But yes.
We'll see. We'll see what happens there.
All right, just go through this next segment very quickly.
Why is that? Oh, the draft, Trace. I got 3 picks right. Adam has a pick right. Now, nobody had Arizona State. We were smart in that.
0.
Where you have? Oh, you have 0. Well, nobody picked the bye week this weekend, so there's nothing really else to
I had Arizona State. I had UCF beating BYU and UCF beating Cincinnati if the quarterback decision hadn't been made. All right, anyway.
Well, there's some congratulations. Right. Congratulations, because on the prop, you picked Randy Pittman in the to go over the receptions in honor of Cost-Seg
advisor, the late Cost-Seg advisor. Randy Pittman with 25. The over-under was 24.5 ELO. And Randy,
thank you, Dylan Risk. You can thank Dylan Risk that. You make sure you thank Dylan Risk next time.
I don't know that he'd have gotten it with a combination of EJ Colson, Ja'Cory Brown, and KJ Jefferson. I don't think he was kind of like 1, 2, and then things have started to pick up. What was last week's
first downs for UCF football versus field goals made for UCF basketball against Fort Wayne?
Oh, okay. So did you? I just made it back from basketball. I forgot to look that up.
I forgot to write it down. Adam will give us the answer.
Adam, you got a couple of minutes till we get to you.
There you go. Sorry, Adam. But here's the prop bet for this week. There is no football. There is no men's basketball the rest of the week.
What do we got left?
We got volleyball. Struggling a little bit. Playing 2 top 25 teams from the state of Utah. They got BYU Thursday night, and then Utah Saturday afternoon. Trace, in which match will volleyball actually score more points against, BYU or Utah?
BYU. Give you the chance
Utah.
to pick Utah.
Take Utah. They have not won a set in like 6 matches. If they win a set, that would be huge for something.
They haven't won since early October.
Yes, a lot of things have happened since then, ladies and gentlemen. Olympic sports, Trace.
This will be real quick.
Yeah. Men's soccer lost to JMU Sunday night.
Disappointing finale. We talked about it, Elo. They needed to win 1, maybe 2 in the tournament.
Yep. Instead, they got 0 RPIs in the mid-50s. They're going to get left out more than likely out of the 48 team.
Any goodwill they've earned, but there's just too many good teams, right?
They have the problem. Yeah, the problem is they have 0 wins in quad 1 or 2. 1 road win the whole season. It just didn't materialize. It just didn't work out for them. I know what you mean. Hey, if they would have beaten JMU and maybe losing a penalty kicks to Marshall, maybe you get the benefit of the doubt. I don't see it. I hope I'm wrong. And you're like, hey, you're wrong, but I don't see it. Mid-50s, it's hard. Tough, disappointing year.
And volleyball. What are they playing for here? You're building to the
our prop bet, clearly. Season. Our prop bet. That's what they're playing for. That's as big as it gets.
9th straight loss, Elo. 1-11 in the Big 12. Knights were projected 11th, 8-13 overall. Long season for volleyball.
Each loss they get, the more the donation should be for a McKenna Melville statue.
Will there be a statue for anybody else on this campus besides George O'Leary?
There should be.
What will be the next statue, Elo, on the campus?
I mean,
it should be Shaquem Griffin. But
amen to that. He's a good football choice for sure.
All right, time to bring back in Adam. Adam, what we get right, what we get wrong. Can you help us with that prop bet? As Elo and I did not do the necessary research to be prepared this week.
Yeah, I'll get to that. I'll pretend I was listening during that portion of the show. All right, so you guys were talking about the field goal. I went to ProFootballReference.com. Using the measurements of where UCF was at that point in time, and the time on the clock, if UCF scores a touchdown, win probability 96%. They make that field goal, win probability 86%. If they do neither, win probability 56%. So even with a made field goal, they still had a lot of probability to win that game. Talked about RJ Harvey and why would he come back? He's now he's now in second place, for all-time touchdown rushes with 45 behind Kevin Smith. And he's firmly in second place in yards and rushing yards. He's not going to catch Kevin Smith. He's about 1,100 yards behind there. You talked about the quote Elo postgame. Here's the exact quote from Gus when asked about the play call. Quote, when you throw a pick 6, that's a great question. That was part of the play call. end quote. So that was Gus's answer to Trace's question. Men's
Hey,
basketball.
it's a compliment to Trace. I thought that's a compliment. Yeah.
It's a great. That's the third great question I think Gus has had Trace ask in the last couple seasons. Men's basketball.
What's the tally in questions that were not great questions?
The converse. A lot of recognition should go to assistant basketball coach Adam Hood, who's new to the staff this year, comes from UTSA. When he was at UTSA, gentlemen, the Roadrunners ranked in the top 40 in pace of play 4 years in a row. So he certainly brings an up-tempo style of offense. And fun fact, Dior Johnson, the only player who has played in a game who has actually not scored so far this season. Zach Wilson's brother, still named Isaac Wilson, BYU in the rankings tonight. We're ranked 6th, seeded 3rd in the playoff. All right, and if I heard this bet correctly, it was field goals made against Fort Wayne versus first downs. Is that what I heard?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. How do you count? What's a field goal? How do you determine a field goal, Elo?
Just overall field goals made, 2s or 3s, whatever. It's field goals made in the game.
All right. Well, 27 field goals made against Purdue Fort Wayne. 26 first downs for UCF football.
That's a great prop bet right there.
That is a good prop bet. All right, thank you, Adam. One more thing before we go. Crowds rocking for UCF men's basketball this season. Kudos to the students who have really brought the energy to the arena. Knights 88-08 in the opener against Texas A&M, 77-68 against Purdue Fort Wayne, 83-02 versus FAU. Those, Elo, are crowds of a couple thousand more than they would get for those early non-conference games. So imagine when Big 12 play begins. Look for new episodes midweek, every week on the Sons of UCF YouTube channel and wherever you get your downloadable audio content. For Eric Lopez and Adam Eaton, I'm Trace Trylko. Thanks, everyone, for joining us for this week's Around the Kingdom.